everybody! I'm here today to answer a simple car question. The question is, how much does it really cost to own a car? I'll be going over the truth about car ownership. Now, I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. I'm going to tell you the truth, okay? So a lot of you might not want to hear this, but you need to, because your finances are a great part of your life. And if you're buying a car, that is a great expense. It's a big expense in your lifetime. So with that being said, you want to make an educated decision that's not going to financially cripple you. And unfortunately, many people do. So I created this sort of a list of what you got to pay for when it comes to car ownership. And these are just rough ideas with real numbers that we're working with here. And then I'll go over some guidelines for when you're buying a car, okay? So number one is the cost of buying the car itself. Now, the car itself, when you buy a car, it's going to be worth that much, at least for a millisecond, right? So let's say I buy a car for $30,000. Technically, it's going to be worth $30,000 for that moment. So it'll balance itself out for that moment, and I'll deal with depreciation in a moment. So for that moment, we're ignoring the cost of the car, but you do have extra things that you have to pay for. So fees, transportation, which is like freight and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of things like dealership costs, setting up the car, inspecting it, and so forth. So there's a whole bunch of extra fees. It all depends on the cost of the car. There's taxes too. So I can't give you a rough number, but I will tell you that you can pay a significant amount more than the actual cost of the vehicle itself, just right upon buying it. So be prepared to spend at least a couple $1,000 extra aside from the vehicle itself, right when you buy it. For the most part, these are rules of thumb. Number two is depreciation, okay? The more that your car costs, generally speaking, the more that it's going to depreciate. In your first year, it's probably going to depreciate about 30%, and then less there after that. So a lot of people will say, oh, your car loses half its value the moment you drive it off the lot. No, technically not. Not really, no. You know, if you drive a car off the lot and you sell it the next day, you could probably sell it for, 90% of the value of it, something like that, I would assume. But your first year, you're going to lose 30% and then more thereafter that. Let's say, just for instance, for the sake of argument, you buy a $50,000 car, you drive it for a year, you lost 15 grand. That's 30% of $50,000. So you can lose 30% just by driving it for the first year, but then it gets less and less after that, okay? Number three, insurance. So it varies. Now, it all depends. I'll tell you, when I was 17 years old and I had my first car, the car was worth $1,200 I bought it for, and I was paying $4,800 in insurance for the bare minimum coverage that I could get, okay? And now, I don't know how much I paid in insurance, I can't remember, but it's like, I don't know, like $100 and something a month for two vehicles, for me to be insured under two vehicles. So, it varies. I can't give you a number. The younger that you are and the more sporty your car is and the more likely to be stolen your car is, and the stealing level of the area that you live in, those will all play a role, obviously. Those are all going to negatively contribute to your insurance price, but it varies, okay? Can't give you a real number, but, you got to call and get a quote. Number four, gas. You got to put gas in the car, unless you're talking about an electric car, but that's a whole different ballgame. But gas, I would bank on spending about $3,000 a year on gas. That's where I live, at least. It all depends on the engine size and how much you drive, but $3,000 a year is a good rule of thumb. Number five, licensing and registration fees. It all depends where you live. Once again, like $100 a year is a good rule of thumb. Maybe $100 to $200 a year if you need more things. I don't know what it's like where you live, but $100 a year to $200 a year is a good rule of thumb. Very minimal fee, but it is a fee. Number six, here we go, maintenance. A lot of people forget about this one. This is the beauty, the differentiator, I call it, because it differentiates the people who can afford their car versus not afford their car. I'll go over that in a minute. I'll tell you how much you should be spending on your car towards the end, so stay tuned for that, okay? Maintenance, it depends on your car. As an average, I'm going to say about $100 a month throughout the lifetime of the car. Obviously, when you first get a car, you're probably going to spend less than $100 a month because it's brand new. Nothing will break. Nothing will need to be repaired, right? Nothing will need to be maintained. But later on, you might spend more than $100 a month. So average will probably be $100 a month throughout the lifetime of a car. This is for an average vehicle. If your vehicle that you're buying has twice the average cost of an average vehicle, then you're going to pay twice the maintenance as a rule of thumb. If the vehicle that you're buying costs brand new, we're talking about half of the average vehicle, then you're going to probably pay half that maintenance. It all depends, but as a rule of thumb, $100 a month for the lifetime of the car is a good number to work with. Now, you ready for the truth here? How much you should spend on a car? about a third of your pre-tax salary. So let's say, for the sake of argument, you make $100,000 a year, then the value, the cost of your new vehicle with taxes, warranty, everything included, should be no more than $33,000. I'm going to challenge you to do something. Look around where you live, okay? Look for, and because remember, we're not talking about MSRP of a base model car, okay? So for instance, this CRV that I'm driving, the MSRP, I don't quote me on this, but I think it was like 26 grand of the base model, right? By the time my wife and I walked out of the dealership, and we got a good deal on it, but we got the EXL, which is the upgraded model. It's not even the highest one, but it's the upgraded model with an extended warranty. I think we were at like 42 G's with taxes included and warranty and everything, something like that. So when you see the MSRP of a car, we went from 26 to 42. And I didn't even go crazy with this. So when you see the base model MSRP of a car is 50 grand, you know when you're walking out the door, you're going 70, 75, okay? So the point is, look on the road for all of these base model MSRP cars that are 50 grand or more. Realize that most of them will cost 75 grand. Multiply that number by 3. $225,000 a year. How many people do you know make $225,000 a year? Compare that to how many people drive a base model MSRP car that's 50 G's. Tell me. Almost everybody overspends on their car. Almost everybody. Process that. Look around your work. You know how much everybody makes at your work, most likely. Okay? How many people drive a car they can't afford? Almost everybody. I'm smiling because my rule of thumb is 20%. When I buy a vehicle, it is no more than 20% of my annual income. That's how I work. And that's why I'm smiling, because I know I'm making the right decisions for my family financially. And I look around everywhere and nobody else is. Everybody spends too much money because they forget about all these extra costs. And guess what? Even if you buy a 10-year-old car, that maintenance on the car, let's say you bought a car for 5 G's, but when it was brand new, it was worth 50 G's, just for the sake of argument, okay? 50,000 brand new. The maintenance of your $5,000 car is going to cost you the same as that $50,000 car. Never forget that. So just buying a used car, still use this rule of thumb of this a third of your income, this 33% of your income, okay? That's it. I could beat this bush. I could beat this for days. Okay, don't spend too much money on your car. That's how much it really costs to own a car. All those extra fees. Okay, and I've seen so many. I feel like I'm gonna cry when I'm saying this. I've seen so many cars cripple people financially because they want to look cool. Buy a car that you can afford, okay? You will thank yourself for it later because you'll be able to buy a nicer car later on, okay? Work hard, and then if you want to afford this car, get your income to that level so you can afford it while spending that third of your income. That's what I did. Trust me. Did I want to buy an R8 before? Did I want to buy a Porsche before? Yes. And could I have purchased one if I really wanted to extend myself? I could have done it probably 4 to 5 years ago, okay? But I look at my kids, they're not here, obviously. I look, there's car seats in the back, okay? I look at my kids in the eyes and I know that by doing that, to feel cool, I'm gonna cripple my family financially, okay? Plus, my wife won't let me do it until we're ready anyways. That's a side note, but you know, I appreciate that from her. So that's it. I went off on a tangent here. Buy a car that you can afford, okay? Your family will thank you for it. You'll thank yourself for it because I'm working so much harder to be able to get my income to hit that mark that I need to hit for those cars that I mentioned to be a third of my income. And then I'll buy them, okay? And I'm almost there. So that's a side note. But anyways, if you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.